I'd like to call to order the City of Franklin Quarry Monitoring Committee meeting for October 24th, 2023. Call to order, roll call, and pledge of allegiance, please.
Alderman Barber.
Here.
Member Swenson.
Here.
Alderman Hassan.
Here.
Member Tenhaken.
Here.
Member Pintz.
Here.
All present, we have a quorum. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item B, or item 2 on the agenda, is the approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of August 22nd, 2023.
I move to approve.
I second.
Is there any discussion of the minutes? Okay, there's been a motion to approve and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All the ayes have it. Approve the minutes. Item 3, citizen comment period. Please note each speaker may need to be limited to 3 minutes, allowing everyone who wishes the opportunity to speak. Are there any citizens who would like to step forward and speak? Is there anybody in the parking lot?
Should I go check?
Anybody? You might? No? Seeing no citizens step forward, I will close the citizen comment period. Moving on to item 4, business actions may be taken on any item. First of all, we have the Quarry presentation from Stantec Consulting Services, third quarter of calendar year 3, July, August, and September. See no representative. I'm assuming Regulo will handle this. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You were hiding behind
you.
You should have sat in the other spot.
I would have seen on that. That would have been. Okay, we will now proceed with the quarterly presentation.
Okay, so in your packet in front of you, we'll have the third quarter report, standard format that we've been using for the past couple of years. So during the third quarter, which ran July, August, and September, we had a total of 4 observation events, 3 unannounced inspections on July 25th, August 9th, and September 21st. And an announced inspection that I was with Mr. Clint inside the pit area and did an exterior inspection on July 13th. As typical, the street sweeper was in use on Rawson Avenue, and occasionally we're seeing minor amounts of dust from the trucks exiting to the east on Rawson. That happened on 3 of the 4 visits. We're not talking big clouds or anything like that. It's just tiny little puffs behind it. As for the monitoring for the blast events, between July 1st and September 30th, we had a total of 15 blast events. 11 of the 15 were confirmed by our monitors. Once again, we only have our monitors with 2 of the 4, so depending on where the blasts are, we may not be able to confirm all of them. In terms of the permissible vibration limit, this was a little different this quarter. We had our first vibration that was over the 0.3 inches per second. That was on July 3rd. It was just over the limit at 0.33, and that was on one of the meters on 51st Street. There were no complaints for that date, and per the PDD, 85% of the blasts have to be in conformance with the limit. And since there have been 39 blasts so far this year, they're at 97%, so they're within the permitted limits.
97 is how many?
97%. They've had 1 blast out of 39.
Okay, thank you.
And then on the air blast overpressure, their limit is to not exceed 123 decibels on at least 85% of the blasts within the year. And we had 1 blast that was at exactly 123.0 decibels. And that one was on July 24th, and there were no complaints received on that date either.
So we're at 85% right now.
We are for air overpressure, they're at 100%. Are at of their blasts are 123 decibels or lower. Their vibration, they're at 97% of their blasts are under the 0.3. So they're well within their permitted limits per the PDD. There were a total of 3 complaints received for this quarter. All 3 were formally submitted. One of them was a little odd, and I'll get into that as we go through here. So 2 of the complaints were related to actual blast events that we could confirm. And one of them, the complaint was registered on a day, but they said it wasn't necessary. I'll get into their comment to explain what was going on. It seemed like it was more like a trend that they were seeing. One complaint was east of 51st Street in the new subdivision, and 2 complaints were in the more traditional area south of Drexel Avenue. On July 11th, the highest readings were at the on the 51st Street meter, well below the limits. That was for the vibration, and the highest air overpressure was on the Allwood meter, and that was the area of the complaint. The blast occurred in the central pit area. The comment was that it shook the house, rattled windows. On August 3rd is the more unique scenario. The resident didn't recall the exact date or time, but the City of Franklin form referenced a blast on that date, and that date actually had a blast that was on the northern part of the quarry, and this was a complaint from on the east side of 51st Street in the new subdivision. And their comment was, "I'm a new resident of Franklin. Over the last couple of months, we have felt strong tremors. When inquiring with the builder, it was told it was due to the quarry. How long should I expect this to continue? How worried should I be about damages to the foundation of our newly built home?" And then on September 20th, the highest readings were both for air overpressure and for the vibration were on the 51st Street meter. The complaint was to the south, and the blast was in the south central portion of the pit. And they stated, "A severe blast from the quarry shook my home. Noticeably, the floor I was standing on moved pictures on the wall." Weather generally for the events was on cloudy to partly cloudy. One of the 2 confirmed blasts was after 12 o'clock noon. One was before noon. No blast had more than 1 complaint this quarter. And the complaints generally are coming from blasts in the central portion of the quarry that you can see on the map at the end. And here we go. So the yellow one on the north is the one we believe it was correlated with the new residents in the new subdivision to the east of 51st Street. And then the 2 complaints were kind of in the south central part of the quarry. And both of them, the complaints were just south of Allwood, south of Drexel Avenue, which is kind of in the typical area where we've had complaints as from the southern part of the pit up to the south central part. One of the complainants this quarter has also complained one other time this year. But the other one was new for this year, so the other 2 were new for this year. So relatively quiet quarter. The biggest thing is the residences to the east of 51st Street in the new subdivision. And this is the 2nd complaint we've had from that area. And we had 1 last quarter as well.
I walk that area a lot, and I've talked with some of the people moving in, just kind of welcoming into the neighborhood. chit-chatting with them a little bit, see, you know, what brought them here and all that good stuff. And I'll usually ask them, have you felt any tremors from the quarry blasting over there? Just to pull them. And usually they say no, but then there's one guy I talked to, and I always thought his wife was right on the front porch with him, and he says, yeah, I don't know about Quarry. And I said, yes, remember at the closing with Viridian, they told us about Quarry over there. And he goes, yeah, I guess I was reading the contract. But, yeah, they didn't have any real concern about it, though, when I talked to people I talked to.
Mike, if I can, too, related to that, too, the one neighbor that did call, I did have a chance to talk to them directly myself. And I forget the name of the with me, but oh, I gotta speak closer.
No.
I'm just gonna make you
Name, address, and where you live.
Clint Linear, 2123 Springbrook North, Bandol.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Mike. Thanks. But I did get a chance to talk to them, and they didn't, I think, have really much of a clue that the quarry was even there. But I provided them just some information. We walked through how often we blast, how often throughout the year, and how many days a week, and some of that stuff. And then also gave them an opportunity, gave my name and number if they wanted to go for a quarry tour, just like I've done with you, gladly take you along. But then also said we had the call list too, if that helps. And they said, yeah, that's fine. I haven't heard anything back from them since then. It's probably been a couple months since I've talked to them. But I think it was more they just really didn't know what was going on. So once I took some time and talked to them, I think they were just fine for what they heard. So.
Is that the full report, or do we have more?
That's the report.
That's the report.
It was fairly quiet quarter.
You are from Stantec?
I am from Stantec.
One thought I had, and maybe I'll just share it here because it might be appropriate, it might not be. Would it be at all advisable or thoughtful to create like a little cover letter? And if we get another complaint from someone new over there, we could just do what you did in so many words and just outline the fact that the quarry's there, it's been there 50 years, it doesn't exceed the limits that are allowed, both we are under the city limits and under the state limits for the blasting, just as a cover, as a response to maybe someone new that lives in that area.
Yeah, the complaint form has a checkbox. For the complainant, it says that do you want to be contacted by a representative of the quarry? That's one question. And the other question is, do you want to be contacted by a representative of the city? So the person checked yes, that I always call them, explain, answer any questions that they have.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
and also Clint received that form.
Okay,
So.
well, that was just a thought, maybe just a...
Yeah, if they requested, if they check that they want to be requested, we always reach out. Either usually myself or Derek Milani, our blasting manager.
Sure.
If they say they don't want to be contacted, then we just
Some people check no.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's see, where are we here then? Any further discussion or comments on the item?
I noticed that this report of the Shenandoah meters has frequency listed for each blast. Do the Stantec meters pick up frequency also?
Yes.
Have you ever studied the correlation between frequency and complaints?
The table we have on there lists the vibration, which is the only two things that are in the PDB that are required for the monitoring are the PPV, which is the vibration, and then the air overpressure. So our meter does pick it up, but it hasn't been part of our review because it's not part of the PDB.
There's really no correlation between the complaints and the other readings. So maybe
The strength of the
frequency.
vibration or the strength of the air overpressure doesn't seem to correlate as strongly as certain locations are more prone, but some of the blasts that have had lower readings have resulted in larger numbers of complaints too. It's, you know, you can see where the cluster of blasts were, and I can't remember which one is that blast 31 that had the highest vibration rating, but they're all in the same general vicinity. So.
Then the highest rating had no complaints.
No complaints.
Crazy what's noticed.
I was just looking through all the frequencies, and the ones that have complaints do have some pretty low frequency numbers, so maybe people just feel that more.
I see we've moved into 4B now, so we're looking at the Payne-Dolan report. For everybody that's wanting to figure out where we're at.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add because we haven't received any complaints during the month of October this month. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And just run, is there dust monitoring in the PDD, like dust levels, or is there some mention of that in the PDD about keeping dust levels down? And as we always see the sweeper going back and forth.
I can't remember if they're specifically in the PDD or that was historically one of the larger complaint areas was dust on Rawson Road. I would have to double check that. I can't speak to that off the top
I
of
think
my
it's
head.
mentioned,
I know,
but it's not a measuring just to make sure that it's not dusty,
right,
something like that.
right, and I know that historically it was a much bigger issue
Yeah.
prior to my involvement, and I've been involved with this now almost.
Years?
I've been with Stantec, it'll be 5 years in
Oh.
February, and I was doing some of the review behind the scenes early on, and then got much more involved about 3-4 years.
Because that was an issue that came up once in a while in the past.
Yep.
Where there was some dust issues, but I swear, every time I go past the quarry, that duster is out there. I don't know why. The sweeper and the
You
sweepers
got a
are.
tracker on your car.
Is that what it is?
Out of sight, out of mind.
You see my car coming, you put out.
So. Hey, Mo, what you drive?
It might be part of your air permit too, dust control generally
Yeah.
is, so.
Usually does
Actually,
control
it's-
part of your air permit for your site.
And actually, this last week, I saw both the street sweeper and then they had also the water truck going ahead and flooding the whole side of the road, and then the sweeper coming up and picking it all up at the same time. It was like running in tandem. I never saw that before, but I know people used to complain about their houses getting dusted, accumulation of dust in their rain gutters and their outside windows and that kind of thing, but I haven't heard that in quite a while.
And I don't recall any recent complaints
Yeah.
regarding the dust.
Well, with the lower blasting levels or the issues that we're having, then there's less dust being created too. At some point along the way, I would imagine.
Well, and a lot of those improvements are due to one operator being on site and then being able to control what happens.
Yeah.
We've got a nice haul road set up now too.
So, it's, that's a big part of it too. So.
Okay, just to close out item A, were there any other discussion points on the Stantec report?
Good.
Okay, hearing none, let's move. We've already moved into B. Are there any further discussion or comments about item B? Hearing none, we can now move on to item C, which is a discussion about the quarry monitoring scope of services for calendar year 2024.
So in your packet is the table we present on an annual basis outlining the proposed scope of services based on the budgetary number that we get from Regulo, who gets from his higher ups and
Budget,
everything. So we base our project work off of that number. Several of the numbers are pretty fixed. We have the monthly fees for the metering out on site, which is the blast monitoring item number on the list. We have kept one exceptional blast complaint evaluation in there in case it is needed. It hasn't been used this year or last year, but in 2020 and 2021 we had some. That is only called up as needed. We are keeping the quarterly reports and presentations. So the report I just reviewed with you and me coming in and talking and having these discussions and how we want to tweak the reporting and that sort of thing moving forward for those. And keeping the report in a similar format to what it is now. We have made some adjustments to that during the course of this year, especially with more data on the complaints themselves. And then I think it was about a year or two ago, we started color coding the blast locations with complaint locations so we can try and see any correlation that way. And then the rest of the budget we use towards the operations monitoring when we go out and do announced and unannounced inspections. So an unannounced inspection, we're going out and driving around the entire quarry, windows down, listening for blasts, feeling for vibrations, checking the roads to see if there's debris, dust, that sort of thing. Take pictures along the way. And then on the two gate areas, pictures of those and videos of trucks exiting both to the east and the west to see how things are operating. We have a standard form we use to document that. And then all that information is uploaded to a website where Regulo can access those, and we get an email report stating, we did an inspection today, minor dust or no dust observed, the water truck was out, that sort of thing. And at least once a year, we're going into the quarry and doing a scheduled visit with Clint so we can see operations inside of the quarry and where the blasting is currently happening, to see it, help me get a visual year after year as to what's going on in there and how things are changing over time to see if there's any correlation with what the complaints are that we're seeing. So the operations monitoring number has varied over time. This year we got a little bump in our budget, so we have proposed additional observation events, and we'd like to, one of my hopes is to expand it to make sure we get at least one in the first quarter, and we've expanded to make sure we have one in the fourth quarter as well too, and just kind of keep those going as well.
When you have unannounced visits,
Mhm.
do you try to coordinate that with a blast event? And that must be hard because you wouldn't know when.
No, we don't know when they are. We try and get it different times of day, different days of the week, somewhat different weather conditions, and see if that has any impact on what's going on out there.
Well, you can sign up and get a text
Yes.
on days you're gonna blast.
Yeah.
I probably should do that, so if you can try and, I was out there, one of our announced inspections a couple of years ago, I was out there during a blast. So just hung out for an extra half hour to actually experience that, which I think a number of the committee members have as well.
Have you done it yet?
I just did it.
You did? Cool.
It was,
It's a
it was
really impressive
very
tool.
interesting. Yeah, enjoyed it.
One thing I've noticed here, and maybe it could be highlighted, is I think last year's amount was 45,000, and this year's 55.
Yes.
Is that accepted? Do we just run, what changed to make that the higher number?
But the PDD has a provision that the budget may be increased and according to the CPI index. So I passed that information to the administration budget, and it's included in the new budget for the planning department. Has that line for monitoring
And
increased to 45.
100% reimbursed by the quarry,
Yes, that's my
so that's a
understanding.
pass through.
That's my understanding.
Was it presented to the quarry in any form of this, other than now?
No, but it is what it is,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
It probably had a bigger jump because it probably wasn't increased for.
We had been
4 or
increased
5
it in
years,
time I've been
yeah.
here.
Yeah, it's been low. It's been consistent over the years. I just was wondering if you were aware of that increase. As being-
No, I haven't seen, I haven't bothered to do the math, but I trust staff is on top of it.
And I think it's mostly in the number of blasts that we're monitoring. Is that
The
correct?
number of the operations monitoring, we're able to change. The blast monitoring is a flat fee we pay monthly
Okay.
to the equipment vendor
I
that
got
we
it,
use.
okay.
So that $24,000 is completely passed through on us. We don't see
And how do you see that 16?
That was
Shaking
us
out.
going out. So with that, it would be at least one a month, probably at least one, if not two, announced inspections.
Okay.
And we tend to go a little heavier in the summertime because that's where it's a little bit more actively used. But I want to have at least one inspection per quarter to make sure we're getting the winter and the late fall.
And what if the quarry would cease operations, say, in October because of weather or
Yep.
whatever? Then we'd not eliminate those two and it would be, we wouldn't charge?
Or we could do additional inspections at other times during the year where it's more active.
Usually at the end, we don't know though.
We don't know, yeah. So, past couple of years, we've done an inspection in October. We haven't done them later in the fall.
So that would be, all 16 would be from
Probably
March
to October-ish.
Yeah, okay. Okay, just so we can get them all in, or,
December, January,
Not
February are relatively.
I think you should go all in January.
I'll get my junior staff at it now.
For the most part, we
For
load
the
out
quarry was right.
all year round. The only
Okay.
time we may take off as far as trucks going out is a little bit of time, maybe between the holidays, maybe
Okay.
around the holidays.
Yeah.
just want to be clear.
Lately, though, I think last couple of years, we've been pretty much
You're on.
year round, even though they haven't been as intense or as much volume. But I know it's been since I think Joel's been here. When we shut down like in November and we're gonna be off for 3 months or 4 months, I just shoot them a note saying, hey, we're not gonna be crushing blasting here until spring. Just give them a heads up, and then usually before we start up, then usually know a few weeks, a month ahead of time, and say, hey, so you know we're starting up again, April 1st. So if you get a call, you know exactly what it is. But the last few years we've just been going out here, so even the operations aren't stuck.
And the past couple of years, we've reduced the number of inspections, so we haven't been able to spread it out as much. So we did it during the more intense use times of year. So this gives us a little more flexibility.
Okay.
I'm trying to think if we had any major freeway projects that are taking a lot of rock out of the quarry. But like before we had the I-94 Milwaukee to Chicago, that was a ton of trucks going out for that.
Yeah, and they expanded all that stuff with Foxconn and all the rest of that area was really good business. So, probably the biggest project happening down here, just to see folks, it was 894 is going to be done.
Oh, is it?
All the way from the Hale, I'm not sure how far east they're going, but
Oh, that'll be
a lot of
fun.
that work's going to be done at night though too. So if you travel that way, it's going to be probably a little bit secret.
From where to where?
From the Hale interchange going east. So I'm not sure how far.
You just have to get off on 84th.
84, 76, and yeah.
And it needs it though. They were supposed to do it this summer, but
Okay.
they pushed it back.
Take the service roads.
Okay, are there any other questions? Any thoughts on this? I personally think it's a good presentation, and I like to see the numbers and the frequency of what's being done. So,
Yeah, I think it's very useful just to have eyes on, what's happening in our community. And obviously the Quarry's been a good neighbor, trying to be a good neighbor to everybody and being proactive and contacting that one guy who wasn't aware. And so, yeah, I think it's very useful to continue doing though.
okay, at this point, I think this could go on as part of the 2024 budget.
It is. It is already in the
It's
budget.
in writing in the budget,
Yeah.
so we could say we have approved it then as a committee.
So it will be the recommendation of approval of the committee. Then we'll work on the agreement that will be presented to
Okay.
approval by common council
Okay,
after the budget is approved.
sure, I mean, that'll
Yeah.
happen. But this is the line item that is in the budget then for it. 50,
Yes,
55.
the total amount, the 55,000. Yes.
Okay. If I would entertain a motion to approve this for the 2024 budget.
I'll second that.
Well, no, I would accept a motion.
So then I will
Okay.
motions then.
Okay, it's been
I move to approve.
all in favor. There's been a motion made and seconded duly. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Both.
Oh.
I'm sorry, who seconded the motion?
I think it was, they'll have to fight it out.
You said-
You can approve it, I'll second it.
It doesn't matter. Either way.
Okay.
Arm wrestling is the standard procedure.
Yeah, settle an argument, huh?
Yeah. Okay, let's see where we are on the agenda. I think that the meeting schedule and discussion, are we facing any future, what would be the January meeting date?
January 24th?
January 24th, okay.
Tuesdays.
Yes.
And that's not an election day or anything? Or?
No, it's already in the city calendar.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Okay. So January 24th will be the next meeting.
So I'll just need the fourth quarter complaints
In early,
and the December blast data as early in January as possible. It's always the more challenging one right after the holidays.
1/24/24.
I give those to you on Thursday.
if you don't receive it, send me a reminder.
Yes. Yep, the July and the August one, July and January ones are the tricky ones with the holidays, so.
Is there a?
January 24th, you said?
Yeah,
Mhm.
I won't be here.
deer hunting is over.
No, it's my 30th anniversary this year, so I have to go where my wife didn't get me go for her 20th anniversary.
Would she want to come to
You
the
get
quarry?
to go where.
Where she wants to go there.
Would you want to come to the quarry, Monica?
No.
No, I think I'll be on an airplane on the way back.
No.
Yeah, we're going to Hawaii.
He said we'll make a request to his
Hawaii?
wife.
Yeah,
Stop it.
that's her-
Congratulations, that's awesome.
Where do you go?
I don't know, we gotta figure that out, yeah.
Oh. Poipu on, Poipu is where we love to go. Watch the chickens run in the yards. Okay, we are now at that very difficult item 6, which is the adjournment. Does anybody want to adjourn this meeting?
I'll motion to adjourn.
I second.
Okay. There's been a motion made and second to adjourn this meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No opposed, and they're all in favor? Aye. Unanimous. So we are adjourned.
Stay here.
Thank you.